Some crimes are messy, brutal affairs, leaving a trail of blood and chaos in their wake. But the most terrifying crimes are the ones that leave almost no trace at all, the ones so clean, so meticulously planned, they feel less like a robbery and more like a ghost story. This is a story that began not with a scream, but with a silence so profound it echoed through an entire community. Our story centers on a man who seemed to have mastered his own small corner of the world. Arthur Pemberton was 68 years old, a creature of habit who had turned his lifelong passion for numismatics into a quiet, comfortable fortune. To his neighbors in the well-manicured suburb of Oak Crest, Arthur was the kindly, slightly eccentric older gentleman who meticulously watered his prize-winning roses every evening at 6. He was a widower, his wife Clara having passed 5 years prior, and since then his world had shrunk to the dimensions of his unassuming bungalow and the secret it contained. Behind a false wall in his study, hidden from prying eyes, was a walk-in vault. Inside that vault was Arthur S. Life S. work, a collection of rare gold coins valued at over $12 million. He was a man who trusted his security system more than he trusted people, a fact that would soon become tragically ironic. The only people who truly knew the extent of Arthur's obsession were his 2 sons. Liam, the elder at 42, was a pragmatic and perpetually stressed financial advisor from the city. He wore his anxiety like a well-tailored suit, his fingers constantly drumming on his phone, worried about markets and clients and, most of all, his father's refusal to diversify his unproductive assets. Then there was Ben, 10 years younger. Where Liam was sharp angles, Ben was soft edges. A struggling artist with a gentle soul and a history of bad luck, Ben was the son who checked in on Arthur weekly, not to talk finances, but to share a meal and make sure his father wasn't lonely. The brothers were civil, but a quiet tension simmered beneath the surface, born of Liam C.'s frustration with Ben, S. lack of direction, and Ben Yes' resentment of Liam's constant pressure. On the morning of October 12th, it was Ben who raised the alarm. A planned visit found the house unsettlingly still. The front door was unlocked, highly unusual. Inside, the home was immaculate. No signs of a struggle, no overturned furniture, no frantic search. It was as if Arthur Pemberton had simply vanished into the thin autumn air. Ben's call to the police was frantic, his fear palpable. When Liam arrived, his reaction was different, colder. "Check the vault," was all he said, his face a mask of grim anticipation. The police did. The vault door, a masterpiece of German engineering, was wide open. The $12 million in gold was gone. The only thing left inside was a single, modern padlock, shiny and new, clipped through the hasp of the empty coin cabinet. It was a taunt, a signature. The investigation, led by Detective Eva Rostova, a woman with a weary gaze that had seen every shade of human deception, immediately hit a wall. The crime scene was forensically sterile. No fingerprints, no foreign DNA, no tool marks on the vault door. The security system SS logs showed it had been disarmed with Arthur S. own code at 9:47 p.m. the previous night and not rearmed. The motion-activated cameras inside the house had been disabled remotely. It was, as one junior officer remarked, the perfect crime. The only lead was a blurry image from a neighbor's doorbell camera. A figure in a dark hoodie, head down, walking calmly down the sidewalk at 10:15 p.m. It was useless. The absence of evidence was the only evidence they had. Suspicion, as it often does, turned to the family. Liam Pemberton was the immediate person of interest. He knew the security system, he knew the value of the collection, and he stood to inherit a fortune. He had a seemingly airtight alibi, a business dinner with 3 clients complete with time-stamped receipts. But Rostova felt a chill in his demeanor. When she informed him they'd found no signs of forced entry, Liam didn't express relief that his father might be alive. Instead, he looked her dead in the eye and said, "Ben has a key. He's always needed money. You should be talking to him." It was a cold, calculated move, shifting the spotlight to his vulnerable brother. Ben, meanwhile, was crumbling. Grief-stricken and terrified, he had no alibi beyond being alone in his studio apartment. He became the prime suspect in the court of public opinion and, for a time, in the eyes of the investigation. The narrative was seductive. The deadbeat son, desperate for cash, finally cracking under the weight of his brother's disapproval. But Rostova's instincts nagged at her. Ben's grief felt raw, real. Liam's felt performative. The case grew cold for months, a dark, unsolved cloud over Oak Crest. Arthur Pemberton was presumed dead, a victim of a heist so perfect it seemed he had been erased by a professional. The break came from a place no one expected, the digital forensics lab. A specialist, poring over the metadata of the security system, found a ghost in the machine. The system hadn't just been disarmed by a code, it had been accessed remotely by an administrator-level account, one that shouldn't have existed. This hidden backdoor had been created 6 months prior. The digital trail was a masterclass in obfuscation, routed through servers in 3 different countries, but it led, inexorably, to a single IP address. The address belonged to a private, secure line in Liam Pemberton's downtown office. The perfection of the crime began to crack. Confronted with the evidence, Liam's polished facade shattered. He didn't confess to murder, but he confessed to the setup. He revealed a story of escalating resentment and chilling ambition. He had, indeed, hired a team of elite thieves. His plan was brilliant in its cruelty. They were to enter the house after Arthur had gone to bed, use the remote backdoor he'd installed to disable the cameras and open the vault, and take the coins. The padlock was his idea, a final, mocking touch to make it look like a professional job. It was just about the money, he insisted, his voice trembling. I never wanted anyone to get hurt. The plan was to wait until he was asleep. He was supposed to be asleep. But the courtroom drama that followed held the final, horrifying twist. The prosecution argued that Arthur must have woken up, that Liam had orchestrated a robbery that inevitably led to a confrontation and a murder, even if he hadn't pulled the trigger himself. The defense painted Liam as a greedy but non-violent man who had lost control of his own plan. The truth emerged from the most minor of details. A sharp-eyed crime scene technician, re-examining photos from the vault, noticed something odd about the new padlock. It was coated in a light oil to prevent rust. And on the very edge of the vault's interior doorframe, almost invisible, was a single, tiny smudge of that same oil. The implication was staggering. The padlock had been placed on the empty cabinet before the vault door was closed. The heist wasn't an invasion. It was an execution. Arthur Pemberton had been inside that vault, forced at gunpoint to open it for his son's accomplices, then locked inside his own treasure tomb to suffocate in the soundproof, airless space. The perfect heist was, in fact, a perfect murder. Liam Pemberton was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life without parole. He never revealed the whereabouts of the thieves or the gold, clinging to the last shred of his perfect plan. Ben, exonerated but forever scarred, moved away. The memory of his brother S. betrayal and his father, as terrifying and too heavy a burden to bear in that quiet suburb. The house in Oak Crest stands empty now, its roses long since withered. The story serves as a chilling reminder that the most dangerous monsters are not the ones who kick down your door, but the ones who already have a key. Some prisons aren't made of steel and concrete, but of greed and a silence that lasts forever. If stories like this keep you hooked, hit subscribe for more.